The White House in full-blown meltdown mode after a shocking report raises more questions about the president's health, and a growing number of Democrats say he needs to call it quits. Joe Biden furiously digging in and firing off a letter to House Dems this morning, saying that he will stay in the race until the end. And then he phoned into his favorite cable TV show, wasn't America's Newsroom. It was Morning Joe, and he lashed out at his critics.
I am not going anywhere. I don't care what those big names think. They were wrong in 2020. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Total chaos breaking out at today's White House briefing after Karine Jean-Pierre was grilled on a startling New York Times report. It revealed how a Parkinson's disease expert has been visiting the White House 8 times in 8 months.
Could you state, very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The president has had that. We've given a comprehensive report.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once.
There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
But you certainly could clear this all up just by saying what he was doing here and if it was connected to the president, yes or no?
I am not going to confirm a particular neurologist, anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a dermatologist or a neurologist. I just want to take a step back for a second, because I do take offense to what Ed alluded to. Sometimes I don't have the information, and I will always admit that. But I do take offense to what was just happening at the beginning of this briefing. It's not okay.
So Dr. Jill Biden also getting testy with the press today, snapping at reporters when pressed on House Democrats calling for her husband to drop out.
Do you have any message to House Democrats who are calling for your husband to drop out of the race? How are you feeling about the state of the race?
All right, ladies. Why are you screaming at me? You know me. Don't scream at me. Just let me talk.
So it looks like Joe Biden has just told the Democrats that he's not leaving office and has challenged them to oppose him at the Democratic convention. Let's take a look.
Good to be back. Let's say a couple of things. First, I'm not concerned about 2020. My concern is going forward. I resent President Biden going on my friend Joe Scarborough's show this morning and calling, I assume, people like me elites. I would remind the president that in 2020, if you want to view me as an elite, I was an elite that supported you in 2020, that said that we should do everything we possibly could to advantage you against Bernie Sanders, because I thought Bernie Sanders' politics were detrimental to the party and to the country. But I wasn't being called an elite. I was an elected official. Some of these people on TV talking about this campaign were elected officials. We put our name on the ballot just like you have. You've been more successful, reached higher heights, but we put our name on the ballot. So I resent that a bit. But I get where you're coming from. If I were in your spot and I were running ahead in the polls, independents were supporting me, I didn't think I'd be a drag on Senate candidates in the toughest races in the country, which could flip the Senate to Republican and give Republicans an opportunity to either block or advance nominees to the appellate court, district court, and Supreme Court. I don't understand what you're saying, but the numbers don't favor what you're doing and what you're saying. So I'd dial that back a bit. If you're serious about going forward, then get on the road. Give me 3 events a day. Give me a long-form interview. Put Brett Baer as a part of that group you're going to give the long-form interview to. And demonstrate to the country that indeed what happened 11 days ago was a one-off. I'm still not convinced that was a one-off. And then to have the press secretary come into the press room and yell at the press like that, all they're asking for are the facts. And if the facts run counter to what they are suggesting or comport with what you are saying, fair enough. But all this nonsense about calling people elites and all this nonsense about not sharing all of the facts, particularly about your health, only damages your credibility, your great legacy, because you have a great one, and will drag down our chances of winning the House and holding on to the Senate. And for me, that's what's at stake in this election. You can call me an elite. You can call me your friend. You can call me a former politician. But most of all, I'm a voter. And I don't like what's going on in my party right now.
Let me tell you something. If I ever disappointed Harold Ford Jr., I would probably crawl under the table in the fetal
That's
position
him when
for
he's
the rest of my life.
enraged, Dave.
Yeah, that's
I know.
enraged.
I mean, wow. But Jesse, I'll give you the last word.
I mean, I just take a week off and I come back and Gutfeld showing his chest hair. Biden's calling into Morning Joe trying to save his presidency, and Mika and Joe are rolling their eyes at him. It's like Hannity losing Trump. It's hard to understand when Mika says, "Did you take a cognitive test?" And Joe says, "Yeah, I test myself all the time. I stayed up till 2 a.m. What? They said Trump was unfit because he stays up till 2 a.m. And Biden's like, "Hey, I'm fit. I stay up till 2 too." All right, so you're a night owl, Joe, 4 more years. What? This guy has the entire Democratic Party held hostage. He wakes up this morning, sends them a ransom letter, and says, "You better stick with me and nobody gets hurt."
That's true.
And everyone's like, "Wait a second. If we stick with you, we all get hurt." and then he's blaming the elites. The elites is why he's in the White House to begin with. Joe Biden would be nowhere without the elites, without the CIA, the donors, the media. They put him in there. And they can take him out right now, and you can already see they're trying to take him out. He's like a puppet with no strings, thinks he can dance. All of a sudden, you find out the Parkinson doc lives at the White House. Oh, where'd that come from? He has note cards for everything. They tell him where to stand. They're probably going to find his fingerprints on the cocaine if he stays 1 more week. I'd be watching out for sandbags everywhere. I'd be worrying about the teleprompter breaking all of a sudden. Oops, sorry about that, Joe. They have so much dirt on this guy. They know everything about his dirty son. They're probably negotiating a golden parachute because let's be honest, there's no way Joe Biden's making money on the lecture circuit after this. There's no way Joe Biden's writing a book and selling it on cable TV.
Reverse mortgages.
Reverse mortgages is all he has. We're in deep trouble.
Then again, they might not force old Joe out. Look who's going to replace him, Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at what some foreign news agencies think about our vice president.
But first, let's ponder for a moment about the woman who is one geriatric heartbeat away from the presidency and has been deemed the future of the Democratic Party.
President Kamala Harris is because she is indeed the future of the party.
And what a party it will be, led by this intellectual heavyweight, this visionary.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Yes, President Kamala Harris is a real possibility. Not to be elected, she is unelectable, but they may convince Joe Biden to step down and elevate her to the position of the most powerful human being in the world. In the lead up to the election, why they would contemplate such a move when the polls show that Harris would lose by an even bigger margin to Trump than Biden, well, I can't answer that. The Democrats are demented and increasingly desperate, so anything is possible. But let's go back to Kamala, who, you know, she's out there on these streets.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us. Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here on these streets. She released that cringeworthy out this week, but I guess it's just a little bit better than this cringeworthy performance.
To the lovely people of Wakanda, I know you will make the right choice. And as always, Wakanda forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
You know what I love most about...
May God help us, because we are in great hands with these people, aren't we? This is a joke.
Wisdom on the populace.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context. Go round and round. talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Here's the thing. Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? You guys are gonna see. You're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you. She looks at me and she says, oh, look at you. You're prettier than you're on television. Mike, look at her. No. I love Venn diagrams. I really do. I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those three circles. And
That's enough. That's enough. We can be here all day looking at Kamala being an absolute clown show. But let's not forget, this is a woman who encouraged the lawlessness we saw in 2020. She raised bail money for those arrested during the BLM riots across America.
they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day.
Turns out they did pretty much stop after the election. Funny about that. But imagine if Tulsi Gabbard was the future of the Democratic Party instead of Kamala Harris. Remember this golden moment back in 2019 during the Democrats' presidential debate?
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
No chance of Tulsi leading that party. She left the Democrats because the Democrats are broken. Kamala has been deemed the future of the party, and the Democrats and Kamala deserve each other. But after 4 ruinous years of the Biden-Harris administration, America deserves something more.